Hey there, it's Michael. Welcome to Whole Again, the show that's here in support of you creating a meaningful life and the person you're becoming. And I'm excited to share a new series with you that will air this summer as America turns 250 years old, which is still pretty young relative to many other countries across this big blue marble that we all share. The series is called A Perfectly Imperfect Union. In 2022, I rode my bike across America, from Astoria, Oregon to the Lincoln Memorial. My wife drove our RV, and she had two co-pilots, Jester and Hope, two Springer Spaniels. And when we did it, America was coming out of the pandemic, and we were hurting from things that had happened prior to the pandemic. Of course, going through what we all went through. And at that time, and this is something I still believe today, is that we were entering an inflection point. An inflection point for us to hopefully pause, breathe, and reflect on who we wish to become as individuals, as communities, and as a country. As I pedaled across America, I wanted to share America's beauty with others, her natural beauty and the beauty of her people. And I also wanted to share where we were hurting. As America turns 250, I believe Kintsugi, which is something we use as a metaphor here at Whole Again, is a perfect metaphor for where we are as a country. There's so much beauty to celebrate, and we can also acknowledge that parts of us feel broken or are broken, but we can find a way to come back together, just like Kintsugi teaches us. And when we do, we don't try to erase or cover up where we have scars or blemishes. We highlight them in gold, and we celebrate them as symbols of our strength and resilience. Kintsugi is called the golden repair, and in essence, we can see beauty in something that's perfectly imperfect. During this series, I plan to speak to at least 2 people in each state and the District of Columbia. So 102 conversations with real folk, as I like to say. We're going to let the celebrities and the big influencers have their day somewhere else. But here, I want to reach out and talk to real people and listen to their reflections as they think about America turning 250 years old. And my hope is that you'll tune in to at least one, if not all 102. Because my theory going into this is that you'll hear different perspectives. Some may be aligned with yours. Others may not. But my hope is that you hear the goodness in your fellow citizens and realize, as Maya Angelou shared with us, we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. I've had the privilege of traveling all over the world and all over this country. And this belief is something that I hold deep inside of me. So yes, I do believe that we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. So if you're ready to get to meet one of your fellow neighbors who is perfectly imperfect, like all of us, take a healthy breath in and a slow, releasing breath out, and get to know Taylor Lopez. Taylor, so good to see you. Thanks for joining me here on A Perfectly Imperfect Union. How the heck are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me, Michael. I'm so excited.
I know. I'm really excited for our conversation because our conversation was started with like a random outreach, just like a message popped into your inbox and you said yes, and I was like, "Oh yes, so cool." So I'm pumped for what will unfold in our conversation. So I know a little bit about you, but not everything. But for the listeners that don't know you, can you take a minute to introduce who you are and also what state are you in?
Yes. My name is Taylor Lopez, and by day, I help brands kind of market plan and scale their businesses responsibly. But by night, as I say, I write mainly about mental health, mostly in women, and have a lot of research and writing as it relates to those topics. And I am born, raised, and still stubbornly located in Dallas, Texas.
All right, the big state of Texas.
Yes.
Very cool. So, even though Texas is one of the biggest states in our union, not everyone's been to Texas. So, what's something that's really special about Texas that people might not know about if they've never been?
I think what's interesting is Texas is definitely one of those states that gets a lot of airplay. People have preconceived notions of what they will find and experience when they're in Texas, and it does live up to the larger than life reputation.
Yes.
But something that is not really talked about as much is what a melting pot it is. I've had access to people, to cultures, to cuisines from all over the world without ever having to leave the state. And I'm not sure that that gets kind of talked about or recognized enough.
I would agree. Like coming from New Jersey, when I think of Texas, and I've been there plenty of times for work and other travel, I think our default is like barbecue,
Yep.
steak, like
Yep.
meat and potato,
Yep.
cowboy genre kind of eating, like some good chili, maybe some
Right.
good Tex-Mex.
Yep.
But at that point in time, the diversity ends. But I love what you're saying is that no, like Texas has so much to offer. It's not, yes, it's all that steak and Tex-Mex and barbecue, but it's so much more than that.
Exactly. I have had amazing Indian food, Korean food, Vietnamese food. I have had incredible Colombian food, Cuban food,
Mm.
ran and opened by people that have immigrated, and so it's been really fun to experience the world through the state as much as I can.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So let's say you're at a big potluck then with like all these different food cuisines coming together with all these different your friends, your family members, and they ask you, especially this year as America's already turned 250, but the birthday year lasts a whole year.
Yep.
What does America mean to you, Taylor? How do you respond to them?
To me, America is more of a feeling than a place. So to me, it's promise and optimism and the enticement of new beginnings, whether that's from moving from state to state, city to city, or even just changing career paths. Anything feels like it could be possible when you think about the feeling of America.
Yeah, I like that. It's the
Thank you.
vibe. It's like
Yeah.
it's like we have great potential. It may not
Yes.
be an easy path for all people. There's definitely
Exactly.
some obstacles in front of many people, many different kinds of people. So the pathways are different, but there's potential to reinvent ourselves. That's a theme that's come up with other people I've chatted with, the chance for opportunity and reinvention, which like to me, how that all lands is very hopeful. Like,
Yes.
we can hope, and with hope, we can take action that we can create something better tomorrow.
Exactly. And I know you and I kind of connected earlier about Kintsugi and our kind of through line and the meaning of
Sure,
that.
yeah.
And I joke that I had to break my life apart um, in 2019 in order to build it back together again to
Wow.
be
Yeah.
a life that is more beautiful than I could have ever dreamed of that I have now. And so I think that very much, of course, there are more or less obstacles for some than others, and everyone's path is different. So I don't want to say it's a one size fits all, but it's very much a we can fix this together vibe and feeling that I think America gives off.
Yeah. So I think Kintsugi is like, we'll stay on this whole theme of Kintsugi because we share this passion for the art form and just the overall metaphor. I think it can be a really great metaphor and apt description of where we are as a country. Do you recall when you first learned about what Kintsugi is?
Yeah, so I learned about Kintsugi in 2019. I had been struggling with some mental health issues and learned about it in a behavioral hospital that I stayed at. And it's interesting because uh, one of the things I kind of talk about in one of our later questions is access to mental health and awareness of mental health resources. But that Kintsugi, it was just something that one of the art therapists talked to us about, and I jotted it down in my notebook, and it just kind of stayed with me as I was going through this process of healing, which we know is not a linear one.
Yeah, no,
And
absolutely
so
not. Yeah.
um, gosh, I wish it was, but
Yes.
it's beautiful that it's not.
I share that wish with you. Yes. Yes.
And so it was just something that stayed with me. And then as I was again rebuilding my life, I kind of kept that as a cornerstone
Mm.
of resilience almost.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Thanks for sharing that. I'm always curious for those that know about it, like how did they discover it? Yeah, so very cool. So when you think about, well, connection, which Kintsugi is about reconnecting, it, is there are there times where you feel connected to your fellow, metaphorically speaking, your fellow neighbor, or maybe it's your literal neighbor, even if we happen to disagree on perspectives, but what are some times where you really feel that connectedness with your fellow citizen?
My answer may seem off-putting at first, but
No
um,
problem.
ironically, I feel the most connected when I'm falling apart. And I think
Okay.
that it makes sense because there's such a vulnerability in feeling kind of untethered from yourself that especially in like this digital age where everyone's kind of being a performatively perfect and just kind of everything is curated for everything. There's a real sense of closeness that comes when you can look at someone, whether it's a cashier at the store or your neighbor, and just be like, this sucks, or
Yeah, it hurt. It's
I'm not
hard.
doing great, or yeah,
Yeah.
today was hard. Or
Yes.
if I hear the
Yeah.
word mom screamed at me one more time,
Yes.
I may explode. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. Yes. Mom, what's for dinner? I don't know, like
yes.
cereal. Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. We're having frosted flakes for dinner and that's
Yes.
going to be it and we're all going to be happy.
Exactly.
But there is like, I think that's all part of it is like we're like most folks, if not all, like we go through something. I think the data
Mhm.
is 82 to 87% of us go through something traumatic in our lifetime. So we all sort of know that feeling of hurting and having something feel hard or be hard or when it just sucks.
Right. And that's
And
just
we can,
capital T trauma. I mean,
yeah,
I like to call it
little
capital
stuff
T
too.
or little stuff too. Exactly. It could just
Yeah.
be, my filling fell out of my tooth this morning before this podcast.
Oh no. Oh
It's like,
gosh.
it's
Yes.
one of those things where it's like, hey, not the best start to the day, but
No,
we're going to get
not the
through
way you
it.
want it to go.
Correct.
But
Exactly.
it's the way it's going. And then
Exactly.
we learn acceptance along the way, but we can learn how to get stronger at dealing with some of those minor bumps, and then also with that, we get a little bit better of handling our big moments too. So,
Exactly.
when we practice that. So when we think about, again, going back to Kintsugi, this is more about like steps we can take to reconnect. You sort of touched upon it a bit ago, but if you could like take one thing, and it might not be a perfect repair, but a meaningful first start to help us heal, help us potentially connect, to grow, what would it be?
There's so many things.
Yeah, I
But
know the list is long. So
right.
I've like when I've talked to people, I'm like, it's just one thing because we all have so much on our to-do list. If we can all just do like one thing, we can hopefully create a ripple effect.
I think what I grew up in kind of like the girl boss era where
Yes,
hobbies had to be monetized and things that you loved, if you weren't making money off of it or trying to or scale a business out of it, it was kind of deemed unworthy. And so I almost feel like getting back to money not being the sole valuation of our lives, but rather our hobbies or what we create or our relationships, our community, those having a much higher valuation when we're looking at life versus just the money that we're able to bring in. And
yeah,
that's not to say money's not important. Of course, it has to be for, obvious reasons for necessity, but um outside of that, being able to do things just for joy,
sure.
I think can create a pretty big ripple effect.
Yes. When you were sharing what came up with when you mentioned girl boss, and it's not just limited to women, it's like everyone,
Right.
but that general genre, what came up was like the need to have like 7 lines of revenue or 7 sources of revenue, like you like
Yes, yes, exactly.
everything you did had to be monetized. Like you got to have all
Yes.
these different ways to make money, and it just kept people churning out stuff, just chasing more money and status. And the whole like myth of it is that you never you never get satisfied. You're always chasing,
Yes.
and if you're always
Yes.
chasing, then you're probably never truly content or happy. It's
Mhm,
just
and you're not content or happy with what you're creating
yeah,
either
yeah, because there's
from
always
an artistic standpoint.
yeah, because you're always comparing what you're putting out to someone else that has more. And
Mhm.
then you beat yourself up for, like, not being enough, and it's just like it's a whole slippery
It's
slope or
cyclical.
yeah,
Yes.
snowball effect, the whole 9 yards. I love that you brought that up. So,
Yes.
earlier, today, I spoke with Ashley from Maryland, and we actually had a
Yes.
chance for the 3 of us to be on video together. Her question, to you is, what are some examples where you've seen community building taking shape? It can be small, it can be big, but from her perspective, like we still need to work on building local community because there's resilience in local community. So what have you seen, or maybe what are you currently doing, Taylor, to help build community in your local area?
I loved crashing that
Yeah,
party.
that was really cool. That
Thank you
was a
for
good
letting
moment.
me.
That was a
Yes.
special
That
moment.
was such a really fun
Yeah.
moment. And it's such a great, thoughtful question. And I would say one thing is realizing that the biggest changes are going to come when we start small. So for me, I always looked at things from a large look at the whole pie and try to fix the whole problem at once perspective. And especially when it comes to repairing relationships and community and things like that, they really need to start small, kind of within our 4 walls and slowly expand from there. So what we have done in our home is we have 9, almost 10-year-old twins, and we have really instilled in them that this is the home of safety in the sense of if they have friends, if they hear of anyone, even if they're not friends with them, that needs extra food for lunch or dinner, if they need a safe place to stay overnight, if they need clothes or anything for school, no questions asked, no judgment, no nothing. This is the house that can help if anyone at any point in their life as they're growing up needs anything. And I think starting small with those small, safe spaces and then slowly bringing it out into the community is where we can really affect the most change.
Yeah, I love that ripple effect that you're creating because, like, we
Thank you.
need places where we feel safe.
Yep.
Because we're so jacked up on like cortisol and adrenaline from like all the things trying to grab at our attention, and a lot of that stuff is really scary stuff. Like I come from a generation, the first generation that had like missing kids on milk boxes, like from a
Right.
Gen X perspective. And that was, at least for the Gen X generation, that was like, oh my God, like, and we started to freak out a little bit because you saw that as you were having your morning Cheerios. But now, because of social media and other forms of media, all the scary stuff is all right there, like all the time. So for you to create like a safe haven, an oasis that kids could come to, yeah, that small step. But if we do those small steps consistently over time, that's the ripple effect I talk about. And then we start to make things feel safer more broadly. So I love that
Exactly.
you're doing that. That's awesome.
Thank
So
you.
what question do you have for the next person I chat with?
So, the next person that you chat with, I would love to know his or her perspective on this is going to sound a little crazy, but different types of therapy. So, one thing that I think is kind of underplayed or there's not enough access or awareness of is so many different types of therapies that are out there and available. And it's not a one size fits all. And so, what does the next person think about or have awareness of with different types of therapies? And is my thought on kind of the awareness being low correct, I guess?
Okay, cool. So
Can
yeah,
you validate if I'm right, Michael?
yeah, I will definitely ask our next guest that very question. Just around like we think of, when we hear the word therapy, we tend to go in like one place.
Correct.
And there are so many different forms of therapy, ways for us to heal. And
Hmm.
we, as I like to say, I think we all have our own Toll House cookie recipe, right? So there's some
Yes.
basic ingredients, but we all add to the recipe in our own little flair. And so what works for someone, like art therapy, as you mentioned earlier, might not work for everyone, but there's a whole bunch of different ways we can find a way to heal and grow again and see our beauty, like Kintsugi teaches us.
Yes, exactly. And one form may not work for everyone for the rest of their lives as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. We
I
go
think
through
that,
stages. Yeah,
yes,
seasons. Yeah.
yes,
Very cool. Taylor, thanks so much for joining me on our
yes.
series. And thanks for the ripple effect that you're putting into the world and helping us form a more perfectly imperfect union. I really appreciate you. And I'm so glad you answered that random outreach from me all those weeks ago. So thanks for being here.
It was an amazing random outreach. Thank you so much for having me and also for doing this podcast. I think it's such a beautiful thing. I've really enjoyed listening along.
I'm not sure if you caught our last episode in our series with Ashley, but there was a really cool moment as I was chatting with Taylor where Ashley was also on our recording platform. So the three of us were there, and it turns out that Ashley and Taylor have this beautiful Texas connection with Plano. It was really awesome to witness their exchange, their connection. In that moment, I felt like the world was getting a bit smaller. And I simply loved my conversation with Taylor and her vulnerability and how she shared that things really had to break down or break apart to rebuild. And the fact that she knew about Kintsugi and writes about it well before I reached out to her was also very cool. And her question is an important one because I do think that when we think of therapy, we think of one thing, but therapy can mean many things to many people. And there are different ways to access therapy or different modalities. So I'd love to know your thoughts. You can put them in the chat. And as always, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening in. And I hope you'll check out the next episode of Whole Again and continue to listen in to our series here called A Perfectly Imperfect Union. But until then, remember to celebrate your scars as golden symbols of your strength and resilience. And don't forget to have fun. Storm in the castle. And if you wish to learn more about creating beautiful ripples and how to prevent a bad moment from turning into a bad day, please visit my website, michaelobrienshift.com, and sign up for my newsletter called The Ripple Effect. And join us each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here at Whole Again and discover how you can heal, grow, and become more resilient. And celebrate our scars as golden symbols of strength and resilience. Until then, remember, you can always come back to your breath. You've got this, and